What's up and welcome back. I'm John Stark from MacMovieGuy.com. How are you doing today? Has anybody asked you that? How are you? This is a review of The Old Guard. We are reviewing The Old Guard 2, Folie à Deux today. Took them 5 years, but we got a sequel. Is it worth it? What happened to Gina Prince Blythewood? Can we get her back? Please. This film still does have audio description. This time it's done by Descriptive Video Works. It's a completely different writer. I actually am not familiar with the writer, so I didn't memorize their name. I had a really hard time memorizing people the first time I hear their name in the audio description community. I'm like, okay. I don't know what that was. But Bill Larson's back to do the narration. And when I did my review of the first film, I commented that it's nice because there's like a continuity. He does the first film also. So I thought it just was nice to have him do both films. Anyway, so click like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell. I'm a blind film critic. Other people, they say they go into things blind. I actually go into things blind. That's why I'm here. Join my cult following here on YouTube. I think you'd like it. I don't know you very well, but you seem like somebody who likes the same things that I do. If you think I can see you through the YouTube, then definitely you and I seem like we're on the same wavelength because, yeah. The Old Guard 2. It happened. We we finally we got a sequel. It's not directed by Gina Prince Blythewood. It's directed by somebody who's done mostly TV work. Her IMDb resume really wants to talk about how she was on Rise of Skywalker as like a second AD, which maybe gave her the idea of like scope and scale for this. But otherwise, she's like an independent director. Like her feature stuff is mostly independent. And she got all these notes from like Tribeca and Sundance and those kind of things and was like, one to watch. It's like, this is not the right film for her. Sorry. We do this all the time though. We like find somebody who made a good indie movie and we're like, what if we gave them $250 million and a Marvel franchise or Jurassic World sequels? Like, oh God, I don't know. Why don't you throw a ton of money at somebody who just was able to do a lot with about $50,000 and see what happens? Probably not quite what you think is going to happen, which seems to be, like there's no mid ground anywhere, for a lot of these people. She needed a mid ground. She needed just like a film with a regular ass budget and then work her way up. So TV shows don't count. I'm sorry, because oftentimes when you jump into a TV show, this is why I'm sorry for TV show directors. I never really understood like the using that as the jumping board into superstardom, because there's already sort of a pacing that's done. So unless you're doing the entire series, there's already like a pacing that's set for the show. So you're kind of stuck. Like you can't jump into a series and then radically change it, like if you're directing an episode of a show, it's got to kind of come out looking mostly like the rest of the series. So no matter how much of an auteur you are, if Christopher Nolan directed an episode of Gossip Girl, they're either going to shelve the episode or he's going to have to not do any of what he normally does to make an episode of Gossip Girl, because it's so not like what he does. So if anything, it creates this like sort of generic fluidity when you hop around from series to series, because it means that you're able to jump into anything and then mold it, and sort of you're able to recreate what somebody else has already done before you, which I think is what they're trying to do here, because probably Gina said no or didn't have the time. And then they were like, well, we were making a sequel anyway. So they went and grabbed a TV director and they were like, can you direct like Gina Prince Blythewood? No, but she tried, and to be fair, a lot of it always has to do with the script. So we do have a returning cast, which is always helpful. So you have Charlize Theron, you have Chiwetel Ejiofor, you have Kiki Lane, Matthias Schoenaerts, the others, I don't really know what their names are. Everybody's back, including end credits sequence. If you haven't watched the first film, watch the first film before you watch this film. And we also have new characters of note are played by Henry Goulding and Uma Thurman. Uma Thurman plays somebody named Discord, which just amused me. I don't know why Henry Goulding is in here, because he's not very interesting either, and I love Henry Goulding. He's sort of wasted. So in the last film, Quinn came back and found Matthias's character, and she's been trying to get to Andy because they were around forever together, and Quinn was in a situation where she ended up getting trapped and sunk to the bottom of the ocean for 1,500 years before somebody rescued her. So we're picking up literally where the last film left off. I mean, like, the time really hasn't changed much. There's a time jump at the end of The Old Guard, and that's where we're picking up, because we literally see, what's his name, Dodger or something like that? I've already forgotten his name. Matthias's character. He's still basically exactly where we left him 5 years ago. He's sitting in this room with Quinn, and they're having it out. And she wants to know where Andy is, and he's like, "I've been excommunicated from the group. I can't help you. This is not the..." Eventually, she lets him go, and then he goes and finds the group. Now, Andy's dealing with her lack of immortality. The film isn't, but she is. I have so many questions. So at the end of the last one, it was revealed that Andy isn't healing from wounds like she used to, so she's lost her immortality. So, and this film's gonna get into some weird shit. I can't spoil. I'm not gonna spoil the whole film for you, but they end up doing sort of like their first raid, which was kind of cool. And then they end up having to pick up Henry Goulding's character, who's been around forever, and Andy was always trying to keep him a secret because he was somebody who, like, is immortal but doesn't want to fight. Didn't want to join her cause, but he can fight, because there's a scene later where he does fight. So the whole thing just doesn't make any sense. But he's like collected like the history of the immortals, and Ejiofor, who I guess has become like a historian in this world since then, is like, well, no, Andromeda was the first immortal, and he's like, nah, no, this other one was, and it's the one that's played by Uma Thurman, who now goes by Discord. She's been known by names throughout time. She now goes by Discord. She's been around. She was the first immortal. She's actually not in the film that much, to be totally honest. Quinn plays the primary villain for a lot until they decide they don't want her to be the villain anymore. So we spent a lot of time with Quinn. And then we're like, oh my god, Uma Thurman's here. We forgot to give her something to do. That's kind of what it feels like. So, just like Henry Goulding, they bring him in, but they don't really have much for him to do. He doesn't become like a giant plot point. He doesn't drive things. He doesn't become like a new love interest. Him and Charlize Theron don't have some hot sex scene. There's nothing about his character. Like, why is he here? I don't know. They have two guys, I have no idea who they are, in terms of acting, who are playing Joe and Nikki. I'm thinking, so the film cast those two, but like Henry Goulding, who people recognize because he's actually been in a bunch of movies, is over here in this role, and Joe and Nikki actually sort of have relevance to the plot. Cool. Like, he has less to do than two actors I'm just completely unfamiliar with. Kiki Lane is still here. She's more badass. Her learning curve is fast because she was sort of like a rookie in the first one. This one, she's just she's a little firecracker. She's ready to kick down some doors and take some names and chop heads, you know? So we're going to end up dealing with Quinn, but not in like not nearly in the way that you think. Like, Quinn is not some sort of like evil mastermind. She's just Quinn. She just wants to talk to Andy, but it feels like this like ever looming presence that's coming because we're just waiting until Discord comes around. And then Discord comes to mostly just drop some knowledge. This is a really slow movie. It's about 20 minutes shorter than the other one. And Discord, you know, I mean, these people could kill Andy, but they don't. Andy doesn't have her mortality anymore. But Discord mainly wants to talk to Kiki Lane's character because Discord believes that she was the first and that Kiki Lane is the last. So Kiki has the ability to kill the immortals, and that's what her job is. And so she's trying to convince her to do that, so that way the silly messing around in humans comes to an end. So I'll give you props. I will say that based on where the first film is and where this film is, it feels like they're logically progressing through a story, but this so feels like the middle film between that and something else. And because I just saw also Jurassic World, this feels like Fallen Kingdom. This feels like a film I didn't like, which had a weird sort of like, well, once last we left, we still had Jurassic World, the theme park, the island, and while people aren't going there, it's still there. So what do we do with that? Oh, well, we want to get the dinosaurs off the island and onto the mainland. Okay, so that we can have Jurassic World, what feels like the whole setup. It feels like that they were working to try to get towards the third movie. Because, God, everybody just wants to keep bringing the dinosaurs to the mainland because we've seen it. It's been done. We've been here, done that. Those tend to not be as fun of experience movies as you may think they are. Unless you're going to get the Camp Cretaceous Chaos Theory people to write a movie. It just doesn't work out that well. So here you have a film that is here to basically sort of expand the concept of immortals, the stories, the action sequences. It doesn't feel like there are nearly as many. I saw these films really close to each other, so I can say that with full confidence. They're not as cool. The direction is not as innovative or fun. It's not as brutal. Like, there's a whole bunch of things where it's just like, we didn't kick it up. Usually sequels try to take it to the next level, but this instead feels like a bridge film. It feels like how we got to Fallen Kingdom and we're like, what are we going to do? Oh, we're going to spend most of the time inside of a house. Cool. That's for Fallen Kingdom. Most of Fallen Kingdom is set inside of a house. It's a large house. It's a mansion. It's not like a 3-2 down the street from you, but it's a mansion, but it still kind of feels very anticlimactic. And this film kind of has that same vibe where it's like, well, we're just here to expand the story and the world of the Old Guard so that Old Guard 3 is going to be super dope because you're going to have all of this knowledge and we don't have to do it in exposition. But instead, you just waste it on a movie, and then the movie's not very interesting, and then people stop liking the Old Guard franchise. Anyway, so nothing really happens in this movie. To be totally honest, this is a very disappointing film. But there is a fight, and I have to talk about it. So we do eventually get around to Charlize Theron and Uma Thurman fighting. Now, in the audio description, Charlize gets run through with a sword and has her Achilles tendons cut. And then she walks away. And I'm like, is she or is she not immortal? Can she heal or can she not heal? What the fuck is going on with her powers and abilities? Pick a lane. A Kiki Lane. No, but seriously, like, what is going... What? I don't understand, man. you know, and like she gets sort of like left for dead, and she's just sitting there, and then she slowly gets up, and I'm like, wait, didn't you? Can you heal? What is? This girl survives so much damage for somebody who, quote, doesn't have immortality anymore. Like, she supposedly doesn't have her powers. And there are these scenes where she goes around to, because, I guess, sorry, spoiler, but it starts happening to other people around her, like, more than just her. Someone else loses, and she notices, so she starts paying attention to the wounds that aren't healing, and noticing that, is this like maybe the end for the immortals? Is this really, maybe, is she right? Is Kiki Lane like the end of immortals? Is she bringing on, even though she's on their side and she has stood up and fought for, like, she refuses to let Andy just run off to go meet Quinn for the first time in 1500 years, because she's like, that feels dangerous. Like, she's immortal, you're not, I am, so let me go with you for backup just in case. So they make a big deal about how the fact that Charlize Theron can die, but then she just never does. She just sustains all this damage. But if she's regular, like one of us, you can't just sustain all this damage. You certainly can't have your Achilles tendons cut. Is that real? Did that happen? It's in the description. I was like, wait, huh? It's like, okay. So I'm not sure I love the audio description to this, because either the film sucks or the audio description was confusing, because yeah. The Old Guard 2. It's not a god-awful movie. I'm going to go slightly positive on this, because what I do like about it is that sometimes you get a sequel where it doesn't feel like there's any organic purpose to it at all. Like, you're not connected to the story. They just they just take the chemistry, right? They have two characters. There was never meant to be a sequel. It's not a film franchise that lends itself at all to a sequel. But they're like, oh my God, audiences went and saw the movie. We must make a sequel to this. But they never left an open door. There's no world building. There are just some interesting actors, and they throw them back together, and it doesn't work. Sometimes it does, but sometimes it doesn't. So, and it's just painfully obvious that the sequel didn't need to be here. And it's just a retread and a recrap, and just the whole thing just is just out. This is not that. So if anything, it lacks the spark that the first one had. It lacks the action ingenuity. It lacks what Gina Prince brings to the table as an experienced auteur. You know, it needed somebody to come along who really understood what made the first film work and how to bring that into the second film while also retaining this. You had about 20 more minutes to go. Like, you could have made this film far more fun. You could have given Henry Goulding more purpose. There's stuff here. The ending doesn't have to feel so awkward. The ending is so weird. This film is... So, kudos for continuity and world building. And that's about it. If they don't make an Old Guard 3, there's no point to watch this movie. Like, this becomes an irrelevant movie. But if it's supposed to be a bridge to something greater, then it's just sort of like this unfortunate bridge that you have to watch to get through to something. The problem with, like, the Jurassic franchise is that Dominion is not a very good movie. So in order for you to get the bridge from Jurassic World to Dominion to watch Fallen Kingdom, you're sitting through Fallen Kingdom for what? Like, for like Dominion, which is like marginally better than Fallen Kingdom, but not as good as Jurassic World or any other Jurassic film in the franchise, it's not really worth it. So you gotta make the payoff worth it. Old Guard 3 has to come through, like, I don't know, bring Gina back, throw money at her, get her to come back, get the, I don't know, the John Wick people in here or something to resuscitate the franchise. I'm giving the Old Guard 2 a C+. I'll go slightly positive on it. I'd give it fresh. I'm a sucker for character development and continuity, and this does have that. It's just, it doesn't have anything else. And that's going to piss everybody else off. So they're going to find this film to be incredibly boring and insufficient. And I I will say, even though I'm giving it like a small thumbs up, a lot of you are not going to like this. So I think less people will like the sequel than like the first movie. So anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. And I'll see you guys on the other side, because you clicked like and subscribe when I told you to. I know you did.